The last one here is strategic investment. All right. So it's more like an input hoping to reap some output. So it's like in business terms, they call it investment and return of investment. All right. So when you invest something, so in terms of a teacher, you are going to give them the input. And what the students will do is they have to invest in time and effort and attention. All this does not require any money. Okay. Why do we want them to do all this? Is to help them to understand so that they can use the language properly. Okay, so when you teach them, like this example here is a tongue twister. When you want to teach them pronunciations and how important it is to pronounce S in this she sells seashell on the seashore. So you get them to say it fast, and you get a good laughter at the end of it. But at the same time, you teach them to say it slowly and pronounce all the words correctly. Right? Then you can ask them what other words, what other sentences do they know, any other tongue twisters, so you can practice with them. All these actually would help them in their pronunciation. They wouldn't realize that because it's fun. All right, but the fun factor is just a very superficial factor. What is inside that is actually to understand how to pronounce the words correctly using the right words. Okay, so as long as you know it's a verb and the subject is she, then it has to come with an S. Okay, we can justify that, but students may not be able to see it. To them, it's a fun tongue twister. All right, so this is how you do things. You invest, you make the students invest strategically, but you got to plan it. All right, you have to plan it in such a way so that they can actually do these things. Right, the implication is that recognize and deal with wide variety of styles and strategies that learners successfully bring to learning process. So you teach them this one. Next time they will try to apply what they have learned. Remember the connection, the prior knowledge, the previous knowledge. So this is where they make that connection. Then learning becomes meaningful. All right. So if we want the student to put in that kind of investment, we have to put in equal investment as well. We have to equally invest. So our investment would be the preparation of the class, preparation of the teaching aids. The teaching aid is supposed to help you, to aid you in your teaching. Right? So all these things work both ways for the teacher as well as for the students. All right. Autonomy is actually same as automaticity, but automaticity is more of the conscious use of the language. Autonomy is more of the control of your learning, right? The ability to control. So how do we allow this is through a student-centered lesson. When you have a student-centered lesson, that means you're allowing the students to make meaning of what they are learning, right? For example, you have group discussions, presentations, and all that. So it's very much student-centered. You are there as a facilitator. You help them when they need help. They'll ask you, all right? But in the process of their discussion and presentation, there are many things that they will learn. So it's through discovery they learn. So that helps in the automaticity, isn't it? So autonomy is actually to enable the students to take full charge of their learning. All right, they decide how they're going to acquire that language, the content, but the teacher only serves as a facilitator. All right, but remember, not all classes you can do that. Some classes you have to be in charge. It has to be teacher centered because you need to give them the input. All right, even though you give them the input, they still need to do practices on their own. So such practices are actually student centered. How much of it depends on your lesson. What is the objective of the lesson? If it's merely exposure and getting them to understand something, then it would be more of a teacher-centered lesson, right? So if there's nothing wrong in a teacher-centered lesson, it's just that you need to minimize the teacher's input, all right? You maximize the students' interaction because that is where they would be able to pick up the language. Okay, so far?
Yes.
All right. So the next